Alrighty guys, so we're going to do something a little bit different than what we normally do here, but we're going to show you how, the long way, to remove a DPF from an L5P and inspect it for face plugging and damage for suspected failure in the engine, such as a fuel injector or something else, something that's caused damage to the DPF. So stay tuned, and we're going to start getting into this thing, tearing it apart, and we'll show you what we find. So we're going to start off, we're going to get the DPF out, and we're going to show you what the face and the tail of the DPF looks like. I mean, everybody wants to know what a little bit of tail looks like, right? So stay tuned. We're going to get it out, get it on the bench, and show you what it looks like. To get the exhaust off, of course, we have to start getting stuff out of the way for the exhaust. Starting off with the knock sensor, the rear knock sensor. Taking care not to just start cutting crap, because we need to put this back on. So there are two Christmas tree fasteners that hold the knock sensor harness to the frame. Two 10mm bolts that hold the module to the frame. And once you get those out, you can get that knock sensor down and, kind of out of your way. So now I'm going to start getting ready to remove the rear half of the exhaust. By doing that, I'm going to disconnect these temperature sensors and get these hoses unbolted from the frame as well. And then we can start our separation process up there. I'm going to try and get that whole piece out in one. Looks like I can do it.
So you just took down that bracket there. What's that bracket for?
The DPF pressure differential tubes.
DPF differential.
Pressure differential tubes.
Yeah, there you go.
So getting these little safety locks undone without damaging them. I hate seeing other people on other channels just reach in there and pull them all the way off, and then you lose that double safety lock. It's there for a reason, guys, so be very careful when you're taking these things apart that you don't over pull this out, and then it ends up on the shop floor and who knows where from there. So now we're going to move over to this exhaust temperature sensor, which is located in a very precarious position. Let's see if we can find that bad boy. Goes up and over through here, down through here, and then here's your module. Again, there's your lock, and then getting these things to release. Be very patient, take your time. Push on the release if you can find it. It might be easier for me to take that off so I can rotate it into a position I can actually see it. And now we can see that bad boy.
Nice.
So the first cut that I'm going to make is going to be right here on this weld. The reason why I'm going to make this cut on this weld and not in the middle of this pipe is when we go to weld it back together, it's going to be a lot easier to weld against a weld. You have a lot more material to weld to. It's not going to burn through as easy. So we'll make the first cut right here. Then we'll drop it down the DPF with the tailpipe all in one.
Okay. All right.
Okay. From this point forward, Justin, there is no turning back. Spot on my belly. Yeah, let me see those for here.
Thank you. There you go, buddy.
Something just shut off.
That was me.
in the top.
You want to come my way? Come on. Come this way.
Okay, now we got to release hangers and get ready to drop that out of the way.
That was easy.
Yeah, what happens when you have a new blade?
Josh just did the hanger on this side. You can see how it's moving right there. Now there's another side. Getting ready to do the next one.
Okay, best way, spray them down with a little bit of WD. It helps them slide off a lot better when you start using a pry bar to get those off of there. So a little bit of lubrication makes everything slide the way it should. This is probably going to be a little bit tricky because the back hanger's off. And I probably should have.
Here, let me hold it.
I should have done these ones first and then made the cut, but that's okay.
So, yeah, wait. Let me know for next time. Yeah, I'll hold it from the back. That makes it easier. So there's 3 hangers.
Yep. You got one behind the axle, and then you got these 2 right here. So at this point, you have to make sure that you have all your sensors and tubes disconnected, or else you're going to break harness, and that's never a good thing, especially when you're going back together with it. So now we're going to try and jimmy this whole assembly out, because I don't want to make another cut if we don't have to. I have a feeling that that tailpipe and that knock sensor are going to make it difficult. Let me get back over on this side.
Josh was able to get that thing out in one piece.
We ain't out of the woods yet. We've got this little segment right here to the knock sensor is about ready to hit the pipe where we cut it.
Pull that out, right?
Huh?
You want to just pull that sensor out?
No.
Okay.
That's what I want right there. There she is.
So Noah was able to get this out in one piece.
Yeah. Okay. Now I just got to get my butt out of here. Go pull it out from that side over there. Or I can just slide on down. Okay. Now we can get this intermediate out. There's a hanger here and a temp sensor here and a 4-bolt flange. So we're going to get the 4-bolt flange and the temp sensor disconnected, get that hanger off, and then that piece will be off. Then we can move up here to some more of this ugly after treatment stuff. This one's going to be fun because we also have O2 sensor, and we've got to try and drop that thing right down in between this area, which it's barely going to fit. So
Okay.
this is going to take at least 2 cuts, which makes me think, do I want to... I'm going to make the first cut up here, slide it forward, make the cut right along the weld behind here so it doesn't screw with them sensors.
So Josh actually figured he could have lifted the cab. He didn't think about this until afterwards, but we actually lifted the cab to get the DOC out, which is behind the turbo. And I believe that was the SCR. And then the DPF was further back, I believe. I can't remember now because I'm not looking at it. But regardless, he said he could have lifted the cab. So we probably could have got the SCR out of there without having to cut it out. So, but, you know, hey, this is the first time we've done all this cleaning, so we didn't know. Now we know.
I need that little green pry bar back there. Everybody asks me, what's the most common tool that I use? That right there, pocket pry bar. I use this thing more than any other tool in my toolbox. Remember, don't take out your double lock. Don't break these things. Going back together. So you want everything to work and then hold correctly. Bugger is being retained by clips just like everything else because they don't want these things to rub, melt, get damaged. So they do a pretty decent job of retaining everything. So there's that. And then we got to get rid of this guy. That's going to be fun. Why Duramax likes to do that, I don't know. So you've got a temp sensor here and another temp sensor here running off of the same module. That makes it funner. So we don't want to cut anything, but we need to get these pieces out. So we're probably going to have to remove temp sensor in place to prevent from having to cut the harness. Anyway, let's get the connector off here. Pocket pry bar again. So we're running into not a problem, but this is something that when people delete their vehicles, they don't care about none of this stuff. I'm going to explain it to you in just a second, but since we're going to be putting this stuff back in, I want to make note that we have right here, this flange on either side, we have a temperature sensor, and then this is your diesel injection point for the DPF. Right up here on the frame rail is the injector for the diesel, and we don't want to destroy none of this, so I don't want to take those off of the frame and risk any damage. So what I'm going to do is take this coupler out of the exhaust here for the diesel fuel to light the DPF, and I'm also going to take this temp sensor out because, again, this one goes down to the module. The other end of that module runs all the way up into the engine compartment where there's the next connector. I don't want to take all of that out when we're going to be putting this back together. So I'm going to take these two out of the exhaust, and then we'll manipulate the rest of the exhaust to get it out of the truck. So for doing stuff like this, because we know those connectors are going to be a booger and we don't want to damage anything, I really love my snap-on flank drive because they have the teeth inside of the open end. That gives you like another 60% of force that you can apply to the fastener before that opens up and starts slipping off. So the flank drives are awesome for stuff like this. All right, so what you're looking at here is your diesel injector nozzle. This is what injects diesel into the DPF for regens. Now, I don't know if you guys can see all of that, but that's carbon nastiness built up all over that nozzle.
Wow.
Yeah. So these systems are not clean. There's nothing clean about that. It's pretty disturbing that whatever they're trying to do to create less emissions ends up putting, this is going into the DPF. So yes, it all does get burned to ash through the DPF, but it's still not good. Now, I want to bring to light about something, and this is something that's been bugging me. Let's think about this for a minute. Let's have a little chat. So, they want to clean up the environment. So, they put all of these after treatment parts and pieces into a vehicle. Now, let's talk about the DPF. How much greenhouse gases does it take to produce a DPF that lasts 50,000 miles, that then goes into a landfill? Hopefully somebody recycled it. But then another DPF has to be manufactured, shipped, and installed into a vehicle. Now, it's just DPF. We can also take the same scenario for an SCR. They all have precious metals in them, so there is mining involved, there's transportation, there's production. In DEF fluid, there's DEF fluid plants that make DEF fluid that probably gets spilled all over the floor. It's packaged in a cardboard box in a plastic container. All of that has to end up going through landfill as well. So are we actually giving us a plus on the carbon footprint, or are we in a negative no matter what we do? I don't know. Think about that for a minute.
I didn't think about that.
I do have to give credit to a guy off of TikTok because he said the same thing, and I went, man, I've been thinking that for a long time. Somebody else thought it too, so now I'm telling you guys. Kind of disheartening, but whatever. Carry on.
And remember, my truck, I run additives, and I do drive my truck along the highway, and I total 10,000 pounds. So even with all that, carbon buildup right there.
Yeesh. So, starting from the front of the vehicle, you take out this little clamp right here to remove the DEF injector. Now, if you'll notice, no lines, no connectors, no nothing is cut because we are going back together with everything. And that right there, what you're seeing, is the front of the DEF injector. All right, so moving back, you have a clamp here. I did remove the two by here while I was cutting so I could get the SCR out, the DPF out. We still have to remove the DLC. And again, the sensors are still intact all the way around and all the way out. So, only thing we have left to do now is remove the downpipe, and we'll be done with the exhaust section of this journey. Here is the face of a DPF out of an L5P. We don't see a lot of damage in there, but this truck was regenning quite often. And he runs fuel additive every fill up, make sure he's running top tier diesel, gets his fuel from Costco. And they are one of the only top tier diesel fuel suppliers here in Utah. And this truck regens frequently. So it has nothing to do with the fuel. Well, it does, because our American diesel fuel sucks. But yeah, we are going to strip this DPF down, probably make another cut, and we're going to send this out for testing and cleaning.